just why people love it so much. Because I mean, this is one of those movies that like people kind of turn into their whole personality. You know, I don't know if that sounds rude, but like, you know, like if you're like a cat lady, you probably love this movie. And that's just how it is. Like it's a formative movie depending on when you saw it, and very rightfully so. I mean, the same way that like I watched Invader Zim or like Nightmare Before Christmas, and those like turned me into me. It's very clear that this movie also has that kind of power because of how incredibly quality it is and how incredibly visually intricate and interesting it is. So today, I plan to talk a little bit about a movie that is in the title of the stream, and a movie that's old, but a movie that is popular again because it is back in theaters. Fathom Events, if you want to sponsor me, I'm here. But that movie is, of course, Coraline, the classic horror but not horror. I mean, that's what surprised me the most about watching this again as an adult, for sure. Is that like this like is a horror movie. It just like there's just not gore and things like that, you know, and that's like what makes like it's spooky, you know? If it's spooky, then that's all you need. My history with this movie is that I didn't see it in theaters. I'm pretty sure I didn't see it in theaters, but it's one of those things where like I grew up really liking Nightmare Before Christmas, so I was always like seeing commercials for this. I was like, oh, it's like Nightmare Before Christmas. Maybe I should see it. And then I didn't. I don't think I saw it until I was with our buddy in chat now, PSI Blue Sky. I think my first time watching this movie was like with you on DVD. I think there was a time where I watched it, but I watched like half of it for whatever reason. And then later on we had like an actual little get together and we like put this on and I watched it in full then. But I really didn't remember too much about it. Let me close my window a little bit because my dogs are outside barking. But yeah, I didn't have too much memory of this movie. Watching it now, we saw it on Sunday night in theaters. That was my first time seeing it in probably 10 years or whatever. How old is the movie's from 2009? So yeah, probably 10 years-ish since I last saw it. I would think I probably last saw it maybe 2013, which, boom, 10 years. There you go, math. I still haven't watched Box Trolls, but other than that, I've watched all the Lakia movies, I'm pretty sure. I only recently watched Paranorman for the first time, and that one like shocked me. I was like, what the hell? Like they made a movie specifically for me, and I didn't see it until until like 2 years ago. But I loved that movie, and I love this one too. I should read the book. You know, I forgot this was a book too. Like my friend Googled it or something when we were out seeing it. I saw the book cover and I was like, I remember seeing that in the library back in the day and being like, oh, that's the movie. Now, is this one of the circumstances where the book is like people die in the book? Like the book is like much more horror-y, or no? Because I mean, it just seems like a book, you know? You get book vibes from pleasantly simplistic this story is. There's a game too. There is a game too. Do we have to stream that someday? Who knows? I need to get a 3D Blu-ray for this because I'm a nerd for collecting that sort of stuff. So first of all, this movie is like extremely impressive. This movie looks so good. Even just this trailer, like this, is this a re-upload of the trailer? Yeah, this is an old upload of the trailer, and it looks like incredible. Like, yeah, 2009 is not that old. Like 2009 is like when Adventure Time came out. So like, you know, there was HD stuff and things like that. But like, what Pixar movie came out in 2009? Because something about, I know that this movie was recently remastered, specifically they put on a 4K disc and stuff, but like this theatrical showing was beautiful. Like this movie looks insane, and you cannot even fathom how they animated this movie, or like, you know, any of their other movies for that matter, especially Kubo. But this one has such a style to it, you know, and I feel like their other movies don't have as much of a, I don't know, the color palette, everything, especially Coraline herself. I mean, look at this shot too. Like Coraline is so adorable. There's so many little intricacies to how they've animated her to make her like such a realistic kid. And there's a lot of stuff with her hair too, which was interesting because I think the shots in this trailer, like there's a shot where she looks under her bed and then her hair flows upside down very realistically. And I was like, wow, that's impressive. And then at this theatrical showing, they did a little behind the scenes thing after the movie. And they like basically specifically talked about just the hair. My friends and I were kind of expecting more from the extra thing they showed at the end. They were advertising this like there was bonus scenes. We were like, okay, is it going to be in the movie or is it going to be after the movie? We have no idea. After the movie, there was just a very brief behind the scenes thing where they talked about the fabrics they used and like the hair physics, and that's kind of it. But I mean, there's so much to talk about in a movie like this. You know, it's definitely worthy of much longer bonus features, which I'm sure exist on the current DVD. Super impressive, super quirky, super like, there's nothing about this that makes it a kid's movie. Like, it's about a kid, but I don't know, like, so is like it partly and stuff like that. It could just be this full, interesting fairy tale style movie that can entertain anyone. It's like just one of those perfect things that doesn't really exist anymore. That kind of goes for everything that Lakia does. It's, oh man, this came out like when Avatar came out too, huh? So when like 3D was a huge thing. I just saw that in the trailer. They should re-release it in 3D, but people don't do that anymore. It's just like such a solid movie. It's like a perfect little instant classic, and I mean, watching it again, like I can tell just why people love it so much, because I mean, this is one of those movies that like people kind of turn into their whole personality. You know, I don't know if that sounds rude, but like, you know, like if you're like a cat lady, you probably love this movie. And that's just how it is. Like it's a formative movie depending on when you saw it, and very rightfully so. I mean, the same way that like I watched Invader Zim or like Nightmare Before Christmas, and those like turned me into me. It's very clear that this movie also has that kind of power because of how incredibly quality it is and how incredibly visually intricate and interesting it is. Blue Scout shares trivia that They Might Be Giants was supposed to do the soundtrack. Well, they definitely at least did the one song too. You know what? This should have been a musical. That's the one complaint. This should have had like 17 like 3-minute long songs in it. But I digress. A great movie that's perfect for everyone. When we saw it in theaters, actually, someone in the parking lot had a Coraline bumper sticker on the back of their car. And I was like, that just made me so happy, because I was like, man, whoever this person is probably loves this movie so much, and they're like probably so excited to come out and see it again in a theater. That I just liked that. That just warmed my heart. This movie just very clearly reads to me as one of those things that like people will love it. I mean, Blue Scout said it's their favorite movie, right? Like I can very clearly see that. It's just such a quality piece. Probably not. He put the sticker on it out of spite. Possibly he could have been at the theater to see what's like a bad movie that's out right now. The Flash, that's not out anymore. I don't know. I also thought it was a little good, but you know, whatever. I don't know. It's possible, but I doubt it. Showings for this were sold out too. Like, we had to go to a theater that we don't usually go to because our closer theater was basically sold out. That's crazy. You know, it's just a testament to the nostalgia that people have for this. I hope that anybody who's interested in any sort of like, you know, slightly darker stuff has seen this. It's just a very great communication of how you can make a story that appeals to anyone, and how you can make like a scary movie that's like not actually scary, but like is scary. You know, like there's nothing that like gets you about there's like one jump scare in the movie, then anything else is just like the vibes are like, ooh, this is weird, this is spooky, and definitely spookier than I remember it being. I only kind of had vague memory of like specific visuals and stuff, but very much towards the end. First of all, this trailer fucking spoils the hell out of it. Like, I don't know what, like, you saw this trailer in 2009, you knew exactly what happens in the movie, I guess. But maybe this came out, well, no, because this says like in theaters February and stuff, so yeah, this is a bad trailer. I guess maybe you need that sort of thing to sell an original IP though. The stuff towards the end when like Other Mother like fully transforms, like that was freaky. This whole scene where they reveal the eye thing, like it's freaky. It's freakier than I remembered. I'm a big boy, so it doesn't scare me, but I could just see like the quality of the horror factor. Like it's just fantastic, and I wish that there was more like it, because even Lakia themselves hasn't really dabbled back into this. Like, Paranorman is significantly more lighthearted, but I guess it's probably the closest they've done to this. But even then, like, Paranorman has like a 50s B-movie kind of vibe going on, like that's kind of the intention of that, whereas this is like a dark fairy tale, and I would love to see more dark fairy tale stuff, and maybe like the amount of merchandise that this movie sells will probably convince them to to maybe dabble in that again. But it's very much comparable to just something like Infinity Train and stuff like that, like more recently, that people are like, oh, this is like such a good thing for adolescents, and then the companies are like, oh, but we can't make that stuff because it doesn't make money. And it's like, this stuff does make money. Okay, this re-release of this movie made almost $3 million, which, I mean, I don't know, is that a lot of money? Probably. It was enough for them to extend the re-release. I hope we get to see more like this, but I mean, even if we don't, we have this, and it's quality enough. It's a great movie, and it probably gets better as you get older, honestly, but especially if you're like me and you're a film nerd and you're able to like squint at it and be like, yo, look at that like Dutch angle, that's crazy, like, all that wonderful film student stuff. So there you go. Any remaining questions or comments about Coraline? I don't know why questions. Should I just be a professor right now? We can do that eventually. We can have like a film student stream where I just like I go off. Like we have like a thesis paper about some movie, like a thesis of Coraline. Why how horror can captivate younger audiences without scarring them for life. Also, the whole thing with like ripping out eyeballs in this movie definitely reminds me of like the Invader Zim episode where he rips Keith's eyeballs out. Also, honestly, kind of a cop-out in this movie. One last thing about this movie, there's the point where like Coraline needs to go around and like get the eyes from the little kids who lost their eyes, but the eyes are just like random ball objects, like they're not explicitly eyeballs with like whatever the eyeball veins are and stuff. Missed opportunity. They should have just been real eyeballs, That would have been a good horror visual, but whatever. We'll live with it, I guess. So there you go. I don't know, 9 out of 10 movie. I don't know. We don't do ratings anymore because it's just confusing to have to think about ratings. There you go. Confirmed. Case closed on Coraline. No, clapping makes my guy move, and it looks weird. I didn't make any changes to my setup, but I definitely need to add some soundboard type stuff. Also, hopefully the music was all right volume. Was the music in all right volume? You were listening to Tokyo Nostalgia 80s synthwave music, synth pop, chill wave, cyberpunk electro arcade mix. That was way harder to say than I expected it to be, but they got to name it that stuff so that it can get the views.